They told him the boundary would save his life. Build your house in Jerusalem. Stay inside the city. Do not cross the Kidron. If your feet touch that brook, the sentence is already spoken. You will surely die. Shimei nodded when Solomon said it, his mouth dry, his hands tight on the edge of his cloak. He swore by the name, loud enough for witnesses, careful enough to convince himself. A man could live inside a line, he thought, if the alternative was a grave. He knew lines. Years earlier, when David fled barefoot over the Mount of Olives, running from his own son, Shimei had stood on a ridge like a judge and threw words like stones. He called the king a man of blood. He shook dust into the wind and let hatred climb his throat like fire. David's men had wanted to silence him then. But David, broken and bruised, chose mercy and told them to leave Shimei alone. Later, when the old king returned from exile and the Jordan ran high with spring snowmelt, Shimei had waded out first, begging, bowing, pulling on the hem of David's garment and pleading forgiveness with a trembling voice. David swore not to kill him that day, and the river swallowed the sound of that oath. Time carried it away. But oaths have a memory that outlives the men who speak them. On his deathbed, David remembered. He looked at Solomon, the son who would inherit both the throne and the ledger, and spoke of Joab, of loyalty, of justice. Then he spoke of Shimei, son of Gera, the Benjamite from Bahurim, who had cursed him with a bitter curse on the day of his humiliation. David said he had sworn not to kill Shimei himself. He had kept that promise, but he told Solomon, "Do not hold him guiltless. You are wise, you will know what you ought to do." A father's last instructions are the kind that stick. They hover over a room long after the body grows still. Solomon called Shimei and set the terms in plain speech. "Build yourself a house in Jerusalem," the king said. "Live there. Do not go out from there to any place whatever. The day you go out and cross the Kidron, know for certain you shall die. Your blood shall be on your own head," Shimei answered, as if relief had finally found him. "The saying is good," he said. "As my lord the king has said, so will your servant do." It was a bargain that felt like clemency. No dungeon, no sword, just a line drawn by water and stone, a geography of survival. So Shimei built. He found a plot along a narrow street where vendors hammered copper by day and children chased each other at dusk. He learned the rhythm of a city that pulsed around the Temple Mount like a heart. At dawn, he could hear priests' footsteps on smooth stone. At noon, he could smell bread and spice. At sundown, lamps came alive as though the stars had fallen to windowsills. He learned where the shadow of the wall fell longest in summer and where it retreated first in winter. The Kidron lay just beyond, a reminder and a warning, sometimes a dry ribbon of stones, sometimes a quick-tongued brook after rain. To cross it would be nothing more than a dozen strides and a step. To cross it would be everything. Days became months, and months became 3 years. Routine wrapped itself around him like a blanket. The punishment he feared became a habit he could bear. People nodded to him by name. Some remembered the curses at Bahurim and looked away. Some had been children then, and only knew him as the man who kept to Jerusalem's lanes and measured his life by the slope of a valley. Then the trouble came in the shape of 2 slaves. They ran, slipping from their duties like fish from a wet hand, and fled to Gath, to Achish, son of Makkah. Gath was Philistine ground, a place with old rivalries and quick welcomes for men who might be useful. Word found Shimei the way bad news always does, with speed and no mercy. He felt his chest tighten and his world narrow to a point. The line Solomon drew suddenly felt like a trap. To sit still meant losing face, losing property, losing the thin thread of control that makes a man feel like himself. Anger spoke first, then fear. He saddled a donkey. He told himself it was a small thing, a trip to retrieve what was his, a quick ride out and a quick ride back. He would be gone 2 days. Who would notice? The king was busy with treaties and judgments. The city was crowded. The brook was low. He passed through the eastern gate at dawn, when the light laying across the ridge made the world look gentle and forgiving. Then he came to the Kidron. There are moments when the body moves more quickly than the soul can advise. Shimei's heel slid on a smooth stone in the bed of the brook, and then he was across, the sound of hooves soft as a lie as he climbed the far side. If he had stopped and looked back, he might have seen what the moment meant. A line unspun, an oath unwound, the air itself holding its breath to hear if he would confess to it. But he kept moving, dust rising behind him like a signal flag. He found the runaways in Gath, as rumor said he would, and wrestled them back under his authority. Perhaps he told himself the worst was over. Perhaps he enjoyed the feeling of victory all the way home, the way a hand loves the shape of a tool that fits it. He returned to Jerusalem with the same donkey and the same men behind him, and his heart beat the same rhythm. But the world had changed because he had changed it. News is a wind in Jerusalem. It moves up alleys and downstairs, lingers in courts, pauses at doorways, picks up speed under gates. Shimei went to Gath. Shimei crossed the Kidron. Shimei brought slaves home. The phrases braided together, and they crossed the palace threshold on servants' tongues. Solomon sent for him. The courtroom was cool, the air smelling faintly of cedar and new parchment. The king's face held no drama. He didn't need it. He had the oath, the witnesses, the memory of his father's charge. "Did I not make you swear by the Lord," Solomon asked, "and warn you that on the day you go out and cross the Kidron, you would surely die? And you said, 'What you say is good.' Why then did you not keep the oath of the Lord and the command I gave you?" He let the questions sit like stones set just so, making a wall no man could climb. Shimei's answers, if he offered any, are not preserved. Scripture gives us the silence a guilty man hears in his own head. Solomon spoke again, and his words tied the past to the present with a knot that could not be slipped. "You know in your heart the wrong you did to David my father," he said. "Therefore the Lord has returned your wickedness on your own head." Then he praised the Lord for establishing the throne, and he gave the order. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, the warrior whose loyalty had been tested in darker hours, went out and found Shimei. The sword did what the oath had promised it would do. The city settled. The kingdom was established in Solomon's hand. What crime was this? Not a stabbing in an alley or a theft in the night. Shimei's offense was smaller and more lethal. He treated a boundary sworn before God as if it were a suggestion. He made his need an excuse, and he broke a promise that had preserved his life, believing he could step across judgment and step back again before anyone noticed. The law he violated was not obscure. It had been written in simple words and drawn with simple geography. Live here and live. Cross there and die. He chose to see the line as a fence he could hop. It was a cliff. There is a reason the story keeps its shape across centuries. We all live with lines that look like nothing until they are everything. A vow we took quietly. A condition we accepted to be forgiven. A promise we made when our life was burning down. Then later, when the flames receded and ordinary days returned, we decided the terms were negotiable. Shimei is not a monster. He is a mirror. He reminds us that time dulls fear faster than it sharpens gratitude, and that the crossing we justify today becomes the sentence we cannot outrun tomorrow. Imagine the Kidron that morning, shallow water threading between smooth stones, birds stitching low across the valley, the walls of the city pink in first light. A man splashes through, eyes fixed on what he believes is his. Somewhere, unseen, the balance tips. When he returns, The light is harsher, the air thinner, the king waiting. If you listen hard enough, you can hear how quiet the moment was when Shimei first promised to stay, and how loud the silence felt when he didn't. Thank you for listening to Divine Crime. Subscribe for more true stories from the most dangerous book ever written.